Hello everyone, my name is Busayo and I'm a software engineer and also an Azure ambassador. So today I'm going to be talking about how you can deploy your .NET Core apps to Azure Kubernetes. So I'm not going to give a brief summary about what .NET Core is. So .NET Core is an open source and cross-platform framework. It's used to build applications such as web apps, IoT apps, web APIs, mobile backends, and so on. And the .NET Core app runs on .NET Core or the full .NET framework. So there's this thing that .NET Core has. It's called Kestrel. It's a managed cross-platform web server, and you typically run behind a production web server like IIS engines. So there are various ways and different ways to publish and deploy your .NET Core app. So I listed some of them here. You can publish your app to IIS. You can publish your app to an FTP server, and you can publish your app to a container registry that works with Docker images, which is what we're going to be looking at today. So what's a Kubernetes service? It's a logical abstraction for a deployed group of pods in a cluster that typically perform the same function. So there's AKS, which is Azure Kubernetes Service. And what it helps you do is it helps simplify your deployment process. So your workload or your operational overhead is handed over to Azure. And so what Azure does is it handles critical tasks for you. Tasks such as health monitoring, maintenance, your pod is being restored if there's a failure. So your when you deploy your cluster, things like your nodes and your Kubernetes master, they're all deployed and they're configured for you. So yeah, I mentioned earlier that one way to publish or deploy your app is by using a container registry. So we have what is called Azure Container Registry. It's a private Docker registry in Azure, and you can use it to store and manage your Docker container images. You can also use it to store related artifacts. And one way to use Azure Registry or a way to use Azure Container Registry is by pushing your image to the registry using Docker commands. So we have Docker commands that can use to push your image to the registry. You can pull from a registry. You can run an image from a registry. You can also deploy to your Kubernetes cluster. So here's the workflow, and this is how you typically deploy your app. How it moves from just a basic normal app here, and you can run it from your Azure Kubernetes. So we have our web app here, which speaks to our API application. It's like a regular front end. It speaks to an API. It can also be like a web application. It speaks to an external API, and then the API speaks to a database application, which in turn communicates with Azure SQL database. So what happens is, as you can see, these two applications are moved to the Azure Container Registry. But before they are moved to the Azure Container Registry, what happens is they have to be a Docker image. So you just typically have to containerize these applications, and then when they are containerized, you move it to, or you push it to your Azure Container Registry, and then when your image is confirmed to be your Azure Container Registry, you deploy it to the Kubernetes cluster, and you can run your app from Azure Kubernetes. So yeah, these steps just basically expatiate the diagram that I mentioned that I showed earlier. So you create your app, create a Docker image from your app, containerize your app, then you create an Azure Container Registry. You push your image to the Azure Container Registry. You create a Kubernetes cluster, and you also create your manifest files, and you deploy and run your app. So I'm just going to go right into looking at the requirements. So here are the tools that will be required for this demo. Docker. Then I'm going to be using an IDE. I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code, so you can use Visual Studio Code as well. It's fine. Then Azure CLI can be installed on your PC, so you can use Azure CLI from a terminal, or you can use the CLI on portal.azure, so either ways. Then I'm going to be using kubectl for to run my Kubernetes commands. So yeah, we'll go to the demo now. Okay, so I'm going to be creating my app right now. So my .NET Core app, I'm going to create an MVC app. So .NET new MVC just call it Africa ACD. So yeah, my app is being created right now, and to be up, yeah, so it's up to ideally we're supposed to like trust a certificate, but let's just go ahead. So, okay, so I'm going to navigate to the app folder now. So Africa ACD. Yeah, then I'm going to restore the application. It's going to take a second, so everything is restored. Then I can run build or run, but I'm just going to do .NET run. Okay, yep. So app is running, so we can go ahead to confirm this on our browser. So it's running on local host as well. So we just go ahead to copy that, open up our browser, and yep, our app is up and running. Then we can go ahead to shut down the app. Okay, so let's go ahead to open our app from our IDE. So open Visual Studio Code. Our app is in documents, and yep, it's open here. So sorry about this. Yeah, so this is our app. Basically, we have our views, our models, and our controllers. So what we are going to do next is we're going to containerize our app. That's make our app into a Docker image. So let's go back to our terminal, and then all we just have to do is you can do it from here, from terminal here, or from the terminal on the IDE. So let me just do it from here. So let's just do, first of all, I need to publish the app. So let's do .NET publish. And wait for app to be published. Okay, our app is being published. So next stop, we're gonna create a Docker file. So let's just go ahead and create that. Okay, so we can see that our Docker file has been created. So let's just go ahead. So because I've done this before, I'll just go ahead to copy what I have here. Not gonna copy, but I just have to copy time. Okay, so I've gone ahead to copy what I have before, so I'll just make some adjustments, and let me quickly do that. Our DLL is going to be Africa ACD. Which is where we have from here. So typically, so what this does is that we're selecting 5.0 SDK of ASP.NET, and then we're copying our published app into this folder, this working directory app, then we are telling Docker that it should use app as the working directory, and then the entry point is .NET applicative cd.dll, which is like an executable command. So next up is let's just create another folder called docker ignore. So now docker ignore we're just gonna ignore obj. So what we're going to do next is now we're going to build our image. So I mean you can use the terminal here, but let's just go back to our terminal here. So we're going to be doing docker build. So let's call this sample demo image, and I need to specify now docker file that created. So it's going to go ahead to build our image. So our image is building right now, and yep, our image is done building. So as you can see, our command from ASP.NET SDK, we're copying from here to here, selecting app as our working directory, and then here our image has been built. So as you can see, we have an image here that contains our app. So you can check the list of images that you had before. So this here is the last one we just ran 46 seconds ago. So we're good. Okay, so let's go ahead to create our container. So we have docker create name of our container, then name of our image, which is this. So here we get back our container ID. So we can run the docker command to get the list of all our containers. So we have this, and we have like all the list of our containers. So this was created 10 seconds ago. So we can decide to start our container. So let's just do docker start. Our container name was for sample cd container, and here it's been started. Okay, so we're not going to run our image. So let's do docker run. Let's expose it to 5008. Then we're going to call the name of our image, which is sample cd demo image. So yeah, our app is running on localhost 5008. So we can go ahead to check our browser. See that it will be running on that port. So yeah, just run our image from Docker. So going back to our terminal now, what we're supposed to do next is push our image to Azure Container Registry. So before you do that, you have to create a resource group using Azure CLI. So You can use this command to create it. You can also create a resource book from your portal.azure. But I've created one before, so I'm just going to use the one that I created. So we're going to be creating our registry now. So let's create a registry instance. So let's use the create your resource book. Like I said, I already have a resource book. So I'm not going to be creating one after. So our resource book, and then let's just name our registry ACD, and then let's so just wait for a few minutes, and then our registry instance will be up. So yeah, it's up right now. So before I can have access to the instance, you have to log in. So let's just log registry. You can use KCD, and then everything, all things being equal, we should get login succeeded, and then I log into our registry. And then I'm going to just go ahead to push our container image to our registry. So before we push our image to the registry, our person will tag the image. So we're going to be tagging the image. And then before we tag the image, we have to get the login server for our container instance. So let's just try to get the server for that. So our server is KCD registry. So trying to query and find the server. So yeah, this is our server. This is where we're pushing our images to. Now, let's just do Docker images to find our images again. So that's the last thing we created. So let's go ahead to tag our image. So Docker tag our image, then the name of our server found over time, which is I'm just gonna head to query so this is our server. So let's just note that down. Then okay, so we just go ahead to tag our image now. So let's image is sample, then our server, and then we are tagging our sample image as this one. So we're done with that. Now the next step is to push our image to our container registry that we just created. So all of this one is Docker push our ACR server, and then our image as well that we just have. So yeah, says that we're pushing it to this repository. So we're going to give it some time to push. So just like I said, even as we can push our Docker image to our registry, we can pull as well. So let's just pull. So yeah, it says image is up to date and my image has typically been pulled. Then you can do a lot of things. You can verify our tag. So let's go ahead to create a Kubernetes cluster. We can create it using the Azure CLI, but I'll just prefer to go to the Azure portal for that. So you go to the Azure portal, you see Kubernetes service, and then we're just gonna wait for that to come up. I have actually created one before. So see Kubernetes service. So I have one. So I have a cluster before, but then you can create another cluster. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead to choose my resource group. Let me call my cluster KCD. Then I want to pick just one node, and then I'm gonna go ahead to review and create. So we're initializing deployment, submitting deployment, and yep, our cluster is being deployed. Deployment in progress. So we're just gonna hold on a bit for that. And as you can see, it's been created, but we're waiting for feedback for it to be done. So we can hold on. While we hold on, we can as well check out our container registry. So view the registry that we created. So this is what we created, KCD registry. And we can just go ahead to check it out. What we created before. So if you go to repositories here, we should see the image that we created. So here, this is our image, sample KCD demo image. So if you click on that, you see our tags, everyone. Basically, here, our image. Okay, so our deployment is done, and you can see we've been able to create our cluster. So let's just go ahead to download our cluster configuration for Keeps. So what I'm do is that get credential. We're gonna be referencing our resource group. My resource group is my resource group. Then the name of our cluster is KCD then queue. Yep, so we've downloaded our cluster configuration for kubectl. So next is we verify our kubectl context. So we do that by running kubectl config get context. And yep, gotten our context. So what we created was KCD demo queue. So we're good. So we can get our nodes. kubectl get nodes. AKS has done that for us, so we can go ahead to get our nodes. So yep, we have one node ready for us. So we can now go ahead to create our manifest files, our Kubernetes deployment manifest files. So let's just go ahead to create so now we go back to our ID to create that. So what we do is let's create a pod. And let's create a service. So the smallest unit of work in Kubernetes is called the pod. And going back to our ID now. So I'm just gonna, so as not to waste time, just gonna copy what I have in my format pod here. And then I just give like the appropriate name. So I'm going to name this app Africa KCD app. Africa KCD app. And then our image is Docker images, get image, or no, you can find our image from one of our comments here. So here's our image. I'm going to go ahead to replace that. And then yes, run on, to be exposed on port 18. Then as service, I'm going ahead to copy what I've done before as well. So, please don't copy. You may make mistakes here. Just write from scratch. So I'm just gonna copy the name of our app. Same for this. Do same for this. And then let's make our app run on port 5003. So I have all like I can't tell which of my ports is in use. That's why I'm using this ports. So let's go back to our port so I can sort of like explain what's going on here. So you can see we have labels here. So what labels does is they are basically like key value pairs that attach to Kubernetes objects. So they are basically like used to identify the attributes of the object and I mean just used for organizing subsets of objects. So the spec, it describes the properties of the pod. As you can see, we're referencing our image, and then like what's our image? Our image is a web page, and then we're instructing Kubernetes that our network traffic it's on port 80. So the reason for this service is because we're trying to expose Kubernetes and cluster-wide or externally. So that's why we created this service finder, which is referencing our port. So you see the container port is on 80, and then this is the target port 80, but then like our app will be exposed on 5003, and then we're also specifying a load balancer here. So let's just go ahead to apply our changes. We have to apply so let's just go ahead to apply our manifest file. So go back to terminal, and then we're going to do cube ctl apply for the this is we're applying the pod. So this has been created, and then go ahead to apply our service the YAML, and it's been created. So what we just have to do now is we're gonna watch our services to see if they are up or not. So do see watch. So as you can see, our app is up. This is the name of our pod. Type it's a load balancer. This is the cluster IP, and this is the external IP. You can access it on, and this is the port. So let's just now go ahead and go to our browser and copy our external IP. That's on port 5003. Here's our app deployed and running from AKS. So thank you so much for listening. Here's my Twitter handle, and if you have any questions, as this was a recording, you can drop it in the chat. I will be listening in, and I would love to answer questions. Thank you.